My name is April Caricchio, and I'm from South Portland. I'm 57, and I identify with alcoholism, substance use disorder. So I am a child of alcoholics, and I think that's a big piece to start out in that situation. I think that for me, that was like what I was born into, and that's all that I knew and all the dysfunction that came with it. So I ended up in state custody and in and out of different foster homes. And so I went through a lot of different types of abuse and a lot of different homes. And I went to a party and they were drinking and smoking pot. And that was my first experience. And it was for me, the best thing that had happened to me for a long time. So I ended up moving to Maine, which was a huge blessing. I grew up in Worcester, Mass. I moved in with my mother, who was an active alcoholic. And so we were both active during that time. And she also had a major mental illness, and at that time AM High and BAM High were open. She spent a lot of time in those kind of institutions, but then she ended up at Crossroads, and she did get sober at Crossroads eventually. And so I was 16 and I would drop in at Milestone, and I think that I knew that I was an alcoholic, but I thought, I know I'm an alcoholic, but I'm not that bad. I ended up being emancipated. I ended up out on the streets. I took a crack at college. I dropped out. I ended up going to California. I was, immediately met the biggest drug dealers I could get myself involved in. I was running drugs across the border. I was, passing out in Tijuana bars on the floor. I think I was, 19 at the time, and was really lucky to make it home. I spent about 6 months just in a really heavy depression, trying to get clean on my own. I kind of limped my way back to college, and that's where I got involved with my first recovery community. And that was a really good time for me. Ending college had that downside because then I kind of lost that community. Think about how different it was then, because we didn't have cell phones. We couldn't connect online. And so we did lose touch. And I did still go to meetings. And at that time, my experience in 12-step programs was that I can't say the name. This is a particular 12-step, and we only deal with that. And we don't deal with your trauma and we don't want to hear that, these excuses and these outside issues. I raised my children and pushed forward and did what I felt that that was the best path forward. I couldn't maintain that with the level of mental illness that I was experiencing. My marriage fell apart. And I ended up using again. Once I started cranking up, I was just so sick. I did a lot of drugs. I did a lot of drinking. I did a lot of chasing, just looking for relief and trying to self-medicate. I started to find myself in intensive outpatient programs. I ended up with a case manager that would come to the home. And those are all really good things, because being authentic was such a challenge for me. It was such a high-risk thing for me to do throughout my life. So to watch other people in those groups was very, very helpful. The community is so important, to be able to see someone else take those risks. I was older and I was pretty broken. I was angry. I was a chain smoker at that time, so I finally met some people in that program that were willing to kind of take me on. And at the same time, I got a lot of help with my mental health, and that was huge. I did need medication, and I needed a fair amount of medication. I did a lot of EMDR. I did a lot of DBT groups, and I just started to be okay. So, and I did all that with my 3 children. I was divorced by that time, and I had my kid. I was about to lose everything. I was completely unemployable. Now I feel really good about where I am. today, and I feel like really grateful, even in the middle of, this mess. I don't wallow in it, and acceptance is so important to me, and gratitude is such an important tool. So I used to be huge with my routine and my practice, and now it's more of an organic thing. Recognizing how fortunate I am to be in this place during this pandemic. At almost any other point in my life, if I had been, dealing with this pandemic, I would have been far less equipped. I can provide for the people in my life, and I feel really grateful for that. DBT was first, and I had gone to an individual counselor, off and on different counselors, and this particular counselor was running a group and asked me if I'd like to be involved. So I did join that group, and it was really great. That was a really great experience. EMDR was for managing trauma. It's brain processing, and so it was done with some handheld and some little bzz, bzz things on your head that you can feel that. So it helps your brain to process information. When you have trauma, that event is never filed away in your brain. So that EMDR helps your brain to sort and find a place for these memories to go, that it can be stored so you can access it as you want to, as instead of having it just constantly hijacking you. I like to do a lot of volunteer activities, and I'm a city councilor, and I'm working right now on trying to get services closer to the people that need the services, so that, I know services is a really big problem right now for people to access. That feels like really good to me. I'm constantly lobbying for the community. And then I have my friends in recovery as well. I have contact with my family, and I do love my family. To be able to sit, in a public space and say, this is what recovery looks like for me. You guys see me up here, you people see me up here every week, and you watch me learn and you watch me follow my face. But this is this is an option for somebody in recovery. I would say don't walk away from recovery, no matter where you are in your journey. And there are so many people. I had to talk to so many different people and walk into so many different spaces before I felt safe. Don't walk away regardless of what other people do or how you feel in that moment. There are people out there that will help you, and just keep on reaching out, because people are definitely here on the other side. Some people will judge people, but there's a lot of people out here who are not going to judge somebody based on where they are, and they're going to accept you just for who you are. And I'm definitely one of them.